Hi, welcome to Coding Bible channel. In this video we will talk about the difference between a library and a framework. Okay, let's tell you some analogy. Okay, let's say that we need to create your business and you need a place or a building for this business. Okay, and now you have two options. First one is to buy, for example, an apartment, but the design and, for example, the area of rooms is not as you like, but you have to use it like this. Okay, you can't change anything in it. And the second option is to buy land and the building materials and start building from scratch. A library is just like the apartment that you buy, but you don't like the design, or you don't have the option to for example change the design. Okay, and a framework is like the second option, which is buying a new land and the building material. This means that a library contains a code that you can't change, that you have to use it. You have to use the same classes, its functions, but you have or don't have the ability or the options to change the functions or the classes. Okay, and the framework, you don't have this. You have the tools, but you can create your code. For example, in React component, in React, to create a new React component, you have to extend your class from React.component, which means that you have to use the component class that's found in React library, right? Okay. However, if you remember from the last video, the TypeScript class is just a class and you don't have extend anything. Okay, which means that in Angular you create your classes, your components, the functions you need and use it. However, in React, no. In React, yes, you can use some functions. You can write some function of your own, but you have to use the functions that is found in React.component. Okay, and this is the difference between a library and a framework. But you can see that React is easier than Angular. Actually, Angular is not difficult to learn, but Angular needs time and you have to be patient to learn it. Okay, that's the problem. That's all you need. Okay, and that's another thing that you have to know is the difference between React and Angular, or a library and the framework. A library, it can be replaced. For example, if you are using Bootstrap as a library in your project, and you need to replace it with Tailwind, for example, it's easy. Just uninstall Bootstrap and install Tailwind. Just change some classes, okay, in your HTML code, and that's it. However, in framework, no. If you create a project with certain framework and then you want to replace it or to change this framework, you have to start building your project from scratch. You don't have any choice, and this is why we said that a framework is like buying a land and building from scratch. So if you need to change the building that you build from scratch, of course you have to build it or to reconstruct it from scratch again. That's the problem. Okay, or that's some difference. However, it's very rare to change or to replace your framework. Okay, that's a brief difference between framework and library, and I hope you know it or you get an idea about it. And thank you for watching.